All right.
Okay, right on. Yeah, we'll call this meeting to order. First order of business is the pledge of the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll review and approve the minutes of August 4th.
So moved.
Second. I have a question
Motion and second.
about the
Discussion.
minute. In Article 11, I made a motion and then seconded it.
Okay, we'll go back and review the minutes.
What?
I'm good, that's all there is to it.
So do you want to amend your motion to
Make that motion as, approve the minutes as amended.
motion second to approve the minutes as amended? All those in favor? Right, members' reports. Charlotte, I'll start with you.
Nothing.
Nothing wrong. All set. Good. Good job. You don't have anything on?
All right. Your absentee ballots are still available for the school referendum on the 31st. You can request for November 2nd, but those won't be available for a while. We're in the process of pulling together the next newsletter, so if you have any article suggestions or whatnot, let me know. We're going to try to get that out for the 1st of September. We're also going to be featured in a release from Efficiency Maine, discussing the program that we took advantage of for heat pumps, but also it was for lighting. We already had done the lighting before. But that was to feature Efficiency Maine and Nature Conservancy. So I think that was dropping this afternoon, but that's good news piece there for us. The cemetery committee is going to reconvene, I believe, next week for the first time to start talking about some priorities, maintenance plans and things like that, knowing that there's stone maintenance that's long deferred if they're going to get into that, and implications for budgeting in the long term. So we'll have more for you on that probably at the next meeting. The planning board now has 2 pending subdivision applications, one for Bigelow Hill and one for Red Barn. The next step that we're into is going to be the preliminary plan review. That'll be a lengthy process for both of those. So they're going to have their regular September meeting, and then the Red Barn Road will be a special meeting on the 14th, so the following Tuesday. That's all pending receipt of all the documents that we need 14 days in advance, so we can notify the abutters and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. The planning board has also asked that we initiate a survey regarding public opinion on the digital signage, really specific to the sign downtown, but then in general, as to whether or not an ordinance should be established. The chair of the planning board asked for it to appear on their agenda. It's appeared, I think, for 3 months now. There's not much support from the board. There's no support in terms of actually developing an ordinance until a minimum number of folks respond to the survey that's equal to or greater than what it would require for a petition to be certified. So that's 146. And so we've issued that survey. We're at about 110 respondents so far, overwhelmingly in favor of the sign. And 45, 55 people are opposed to developing an ordinance. So we're getting actually some comments back. But right now it's going the way that the majority of the planning board, I think, initially felt that they like the sign, let's not put in a regulation. And if you see a problem down the road, then great. But it is out there. We're asking you to participate in it. And it's actually been a pretty good data collector in terms of feedback. So
Has there been, they initially said it was because it was a distraction for like the traffic and stuff right there. I know that I always would look to the sign that we would manually put up that was down near the ball fields. Is there any talk about maybe taking that electronic sign, maybe putting it there? That way we don't have the traffic concerns. People are used to looking there. I mean, is that kind of a?
So there hasn't been talk about that because the electricity's down there and not down here. So it'll be all of that and more. There's been discussion in the past about adding an electronic signboard down there.
We don't need to buy another one. I was just saying if that one's an issue where it is, if we moved it. Yeah.
So that's been the discussion that's been had in the past, was an additional signboard for down there. The discussion that was had the other day was being close to the school ball field, danger for pedestrians and children crossing.
What?
Yeah, so anyway, but that's all very preliminary. We haven't gotten into that. The survey is coming out. We're looking for 146 respondents for the planning board will even consider it, and it will be open for 90 days. I've been working with Brad to set up a meeting with other area town managers about the dams, dam maintenance, public relations, the impact of the dams on the rivers and our economy. We know that this is an issue. It's not going to be going away anytime soon. I think we've just got a little bit of respite, I'll say, in terms of the process, but it's definitely going to continue to be a subject that we see come across. One of the things that I'm going to be focusing on is communication from Brookfield. So it was actually resident generated phone calls today that told me that the river was lowering, that we had a boat that was beached, and that the Morgans had called and said it's clear that the water's going down in the last hour. After 3 hours of waiting on email, I got the response, they're lowering the water by at least a foot until November. So, you know, those are things that are concerned to us with our landing and recreation. They didn't think it was going to impact, but it has impacted 2 people that we know of so far. So we're going to keep track of that. We're going to keep track of that, and we're going to be working as municipalities. So maybe my problem isn't substantial in the grand scheme of things, but it is to us. And if it affects Madison or Skowhegan and whatnot, then that we want to be able to all be on the same page, getting the greater good for the region, not just for ourselves. Understanding that, you know, we're really important. But all right, your taxes were committed at a rate of 13.25 on 1,000. That's flat over last year. There is a slight downtick on your homestead, so that's going to net out to be about $3 on homestead properties. Its tax bill will go up, and that has to do with our valuations against what the state has for valuation. And it's going to be far more significant next year on preliminary look. Another possible 15-point decrease in our values. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Tax bills were mailed yesterday. There was a delay in proofing. They're going to be due on the 21st, and we have already seen real estate money come in. About 1% has already been collected. Unpaid sewer charges back from early 2019 are in maturity status. So if those don't pay the 3 accounts before September 24th, there'll be 3 properties subject to automatic foreclosure. The fire department's formalizing automatic response agreement with Skowhegan, pretty much with regards to structure fires under certain conditions. Will trigger for them and they'll trigger for us. We also replaced the antenna on Bigelow Hill yesterday. That was 16-year-old technology being upgraded there. And pretty close to done with that. Usula Day is still on track for the 5th and 6th of September. The next meeting will be on Monday, the 30th at 4:30 in the park. This is your note about the drawdown of the head pond on the river. And the hazardous household waste day at Waste Management is this Saturday. That's a front gate entrance off from Route 2 for those that are participating in that program. The speed feedback sign, which is your radar, flashes, sends messages, records data. That's been delayed until spring due to supply chain, and your rec field project for drainage is underway, hoping to get that done so that we can have a soccer season. Even if the total project isn't done, we're hoping to have the soccer field back in place. So lofty goals, aggressive there, but achievable. And then the other thing that we have, the Cole 5K will be on the 29th, Sunday the 29th. And that's what I've got.
Nice. All right, discussion action on August 18th, general warrant number 16.
General warrants 6 for $219,082.12.
Oh, excuse me, second that.
Motion in the second. Under further discussion, fine line, is that everything to do with the sidewalk? That's fine. Is that everything for the sidewalk or no?
That's total sidewalks,
That's everything spent
which
on.
was about $2,000, I think, under their initial estimate. It didn't include mechanic street.
Okay.
So we came well under their budget for that.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
What is main equalization?
That's Donna pays the assessor,
Oh, okay.
the monthly payment.
Madison area, Madison Anson sanitary district.
That's the residual for disposal of what we would normally spread at the airport. We've been hauling there.
Was that a pass through? Is that come out of sewer fees? That just.
That's going to come out of sewer operating. So normally we have the man, the truck, and then spreading at the airport, and we're not allowed to do that anymore. So we're hiring a third party to haul that to Anson Madison.
Right, because we're not hauling it at all. Right?
No, and we're
Okay.
You know, it's cost savings.
Yeah. Okay, I remember this. Anything else?
What was the landscape of the tip?
Nope, that is our tick spray at the old landfill and then our 2 treatments on downtown. The second one will happen just before the school days to make sure we're looking good. It doesn't include ball field. It doesn't include anything down to the park. That's on the house.
I was gonna say, Brookfield, I don't think you get sent a bill for that one.
Perfect. All right, no further discussion. Motion in a second. All those in favor? I couldn't glance. It looked at
We had schools
all those
there.
opposed. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, right, general airport warrant, number 8.
I make a motion to approve the airport warrant number 8 in the amount of $18,183.71.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Yes.
You just have to take a punch.
Okay, right on the sewer commitment. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the sewer commitment in the amount of $18,343.03.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Public comment? Crickets. All right. Discussion action on investment services proposals.
All right, so this is a continuation of our discussion at the last meeting with the 3 final candidates, I believe. And you've had time to think about this, I hope.
Yeah.
And go back and review the proposals if you had any questions. One of the things that when we left the meeting the last time, we were having a discussion about rates, fees charged, and what there might be. There was a choice that had expense fees and whatnot, and then there was some questions whether or not other firms had expense fees. So I've reached out to the other firms to ask for the clarification on that. Which you have Kennebec Savings said their transactional cost would be less than 100 per year. And then in addition, there might be some other items, all funds are no load. The cost would be around $6,100 per year, or 0.26. So the total is 0.82 with estimated 0.82 with Kennebec Savings.
So there was other fees in
There
there.
was, yes. And then Bangor Savings said that we would have, assuming a 50-50 split in stock-based ETF and direct bond holdings, the cost to set up would be about $380, and then your annual fees for transaction costs would be around $100 a year or less. They didn't net that out in the way that Kennebec Savings did or Choice. And I'm not sure if that needs to be discussed further, if we need to drill into that. But then Choice also, we had kind of put a little pressure on them to see if they could provide us with an alternate proposal. And they have reduced their asset under management fee to 0.35 annually. And then their expense ratio average of 40%, which is their estimate, is what they're now offering. So,
So there is 75 total.
yep.
And the other one is at 82.
Estimate.
It was.
And then the other, Bangor Savings didn't really provide a kind of breakout for us.
So is that the Choice, they were significantly higher in the percentage of the charge compared to everybody else, wasn't it? It was like almost like twice. Does that mean that part's down now, or?
So they were, I believe, at 0.5% on AUM assets under management annually, and they reduced that by 15 points to bring it down to 0.35%.
And what were the other two? Because the other two were almost the same, weren't they?
Yeah, but it didn't account for the extra fees,
Yeah,
the estimated expenses.
Okay.
And so choice was just, that's what they gave you right up front, was that our estimated expenses are 4/10 of a point.
Discussion. We're all ready to the table, because they're all ready to the table.
right. Bangor didn't offer anything extra for a switch of all counties. We didn't have anything above and beyond. I mean, they're still right there compared with everybody else. They're the only one that offer the ability to move all our funds to them, but didn't seem to be a gain for us.
Yeah, I don't think that the information they provided was apples and apples. It might be apples and oranges, or maybe apples and tomatoes.
I mean, I like it. I like kind of like savings and choice, I like their proposals. Choice to me was more upfront, plus right from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
Fees right out. Guess it's 6.5 dozen.
It's kind of a crapshoot, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess my only choice with choice is, do they have the experience that the others have?
Yeah. That was kind of my, and not even just that, but just like the manpower, you know, like you just think of like the times where now with COVID, like, there's only 3 people in there. COVID, like, who's managing our funds if everyone's like, that made me a little bit nervous because they are so small. I feel like that can be a benefit or it could be a, I don't know. That did make me a little bit nervous because they are so tiny and so new, and like their overall asset management was significantly less. And not that it's, I don't know if it's a big deal, but they don't manage any towns. I mean, doing a trust for, you know, like a nonprofit, I guess that it's similar, but that did make me a little like.
Yeah, no, right out the gate, I mean, he certainly presents as the youngest of the bunch with the least amount of experience. Well, he's the only one that's from here. You know, his parents live up on the hill. And I mean, it's a crapshoot. I don't really know any of these people to be able to say, I want to give them the town's money and let them represent us and, you know, invest for us. So I mean, I guess for me, if I've got to do what I want to do with somebody that's really local, that's here in town, that actually, you know, right, has a feel for the town. That's where the other 2 really don't. So I think for me, it's a big local advantage.
I'll be honest with you, maybe the safest place to say it, but I go through choice with some of my personal stuff. I have nothing in the ballgame for as far as the town goes. I mean, as far as that goes, but they're always very responsive to me. I was very impressed with kind of that presentation too.
See, it's funny, like Kennebec was the least. I felt like he was the most salesman-y, and I didn't like the New York, that piece of it, and I feel like it's farming out, like Bangor, I feel like at least they're a big enough bank where like, I mean, nothing can really go, there's something to back it up. I feel like what happens in like a smaller company, like what's our, like, the contingency if something goes wrong, like someone sues that, you know, business, they are so small, what happens? Like, if, I mean, is everything like insured, backed up, then triple backed up, so there's no chance of like, someone embezzles at that, a small place, like what happens at a bank? I'm pretty sure it'll be okay, but a small one that would be like.
That's a legit question.
Like you never know how litigious people are, yeah. I mean, I feel like the bigger, you know, the bank, like, not that it won't be a pain in the butt, I mean, we can't even get, you know.
But I'm sure that we
Engineers to pay for
verify
stuff
that we
they must have done.
protected from anything like that before we entered into anything. So I don't, for me, that's not really a decider. I know we're not gonna
That's,
do anything that we're not allowed to per se, or that we're not protected. There's still a gamble because you are investing, but.
only because it's so small,
Beyond that.
there's no like backup, yes.
I mean, what's your thought on it? You?
That was my name. What do you do?
Investing in the town money.
He doesn't have it.
I don't.
I think it's to the point where my opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, it does.
you're fortunate enough to have a treasury as large as this. And I think that either of the firms would represent you well.
I agree.
And so, to me, it would come down to the firm's competent. Who do you think is going to manage that money the best, give you the access that you want, and provide you with that level of service that you're looking for? And that's up to you in terms of your personal comfort. And if that's somebody that you know, or it's somebody that you don't, or the way somebody gave a presentation, that's why we didn't make a decision 2 weeks ago. I think we're in with either of these, I would say 2, you would be in good hands. Kennebec has municipal experience, government experience. Choice has local connection and a $1,500 a year estimated difference in service in their favor.
So you're thinking like Bangor's probably. Are we down to those two, or? Is that-
I mean, that's up to you. I had narrowed it down.
Yeah.
I mean, we look from the very start. Let's be honest, it's largely about service. It is about service and fee.
Mm.
And I think even in his letter, he said, it's not all about the cheap money, is what it amounts to. Some of our investment strategies that we have higher costs than some of our competitors, but over longer periods of time, we've seen the performance of the investments that we implement be worthy of the higher costs. The costs that Matt has offered are comparable, I think, to the costs that Amos has offered at Kennebec. And the fact that probably Bangor said that we're not going to be doing that, and that they're able to keep it to under $100 a year, kind of makes me think that we're not seeing the same proposal anymore. For me, it's 2 people based upon service in your comfort level. It wouldn't be, you know, they're financial institutions.
Yeah, I certainly,
You're always assuming the risk.
I mean, Bangor Savings Bank obviously is not a member of Norridgewock community, but greater community they're a member of, and I certainly think we'd be okay going.
Oh, that's right. I do all my banking, but that might was right.
So there you go.
Right, I do everything with Bangor.
So, yeah, so you have no problem with this.
No, I agree.
So, yeah, I don't think that's.
Right, but I think when you start talking about the difference in investments
no.
and whatnot, I think that there's gonna be a difference maybe in terms of what we're just gonna be content with, or who's gonna move your money to make it work for you.
I mean, I don't want to keep kicking this can down the road, but if we have questions about one firm's ability to the other, I don't mind bringing them back at the next meeting, and talking to them more about that. If that's.
For myself, I think that distress, it's. Can't believe it, really. And for me, I end up with choice, at least for the town stuff, you know, my own personally, but like, again, for the town, yes, I do. There's just more of a feel there, and I think more people will be behind that.
Because there are more connections.
Exactly, there is no
The
connection.
only reason,
That would be a big thing for everyone, yeah. And I think they're gonna get better communication.
The Bangor, when we talk about Bangor Savings, but it's Bangor Wealth Management. It's a division of Bangor Savings, so that guarantee may be separated from that. Kennebec Savings, you know, it's actually Kennebec Savings Bank, according to the letterhead. So, I don't have any problem with choice. What I would like to do is maybe suggest we invite Choice back and ask a few of these questions that we have about protections and guarantees and what happens when you go belly up, where's our stuff? And, but yeah, I'm happy with that.
I mean, we are talking about a lot of money, so I don't.
Yeah.
keep kicking right now, but I don't want to jump.
Well, he's got,
Yeah.
how many clients does he have? No.
It was a substantial amount.
Yeah.
Substantial amount of money.
Right, no, I know.
But we would definitely be one of the biggest accounts that that firm had.
Maybe more question.
Yeah, like, I think his biggest one was like.
Wrong if he goes buying.
Does that give us better service or?
Statutes
someone
require us
else?
to protect the money that they hold us relatively harmless, so we're gonna be subject to a loss, but they can't overinvest us if they're gonna be liable. Municipalities protect, you can take $250,000 and put it into a bank, and it's insured. We can take 7 million and put it into a bank, and the bank has to get that insured for us.
Right.
For municipalities, entitled to,
Right, when it goes to choice, how is it?
and then we would get greater protections, yeah.
So I guess
The
the
statute governs that.
question might be is, do we want to invite Choice back for an overview, or are you comfortable having that conversation with him personally, or how do we want to?
Yeah.
Neither?
Well, I mean, just the thing that you're talking about, like, I'm guessing that they must know those, like, in, like, those little nuances of municipalities, but they don't have any, so they've never had to do that. So are there gonna be additional safeguards that have to be put in place that they automatically know, or are they not gonna know because they haven't dealt with that specific type of account yet?
I don't know, I think
Either.
what I got from all their presentation was that once we made a choice, they wanted to come back. Once we decided on choice, I'm using choice here, but once we decided who we was gonna go with, they wanted to come back and discuss more in detail on how we wanted the investments, correct?
They're gonna offer a proposal
Right.
and then draft a policy for us as well.
We want to just invite him back and take a couple questions and send the district over the week, and we'll get them to him so that he can preview questions and have answers for our next meeting. Is that, if everybody agrees with choice, that we'll move forward, but
Want that as a motion?
To accept the proposal, and then we'll just go along as it's done.
I'll make a motion to accept or consider the proposal from Choice and have it back and discuss this further. That sounds the motion.
I'll second it.
okay, there's a motion and a second to move forward with choice. Any further discussion? All those in favor? No, that's everyone. All right, discussion action on cemetery quitclaim deed.
It is for Linda Williams on the southern half of lot 208 at Sunset View Cemetery.
Connection to town? Yeah, I just.
Yes.
We get a letter?
Oh, yeah, I make a motion that we sign the claim deed.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to sign the quitclaim deed for Linda Williams. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's everybody. Discussion action on unpopular taxes.
All right, so you have just a brief memo from Donna, the assessing agent, in your packet with regards to mobile homes that are on leased land or just on land in general. It owes back taxes, we tend to collect, nobody claims ownership, nobody knows who owns them, nobody wants them. And so her recommendation is to review this and write them off as uncollectible. Board of Assessors in quorum, not in full, recommended 2-0 that we do move ahead with writing these off as uncollectible. The problem that we have, for instance, I'll use Charlotte. Charlotte owns a piece of property and they're going on. She's also got a mobile home that somebody had just lived in. It's on the property as well. The mobile home then is vacant. Somebody offers Charlotte to buy it. They say, okay, yeah, good, make the deal. Somebody wants to move that mobile home. It's not good enough to move down the road. So they say, no, the deal's off. No, nobody wants it. It's just there. And Charlotte, as a landowner, doesn't want anybody to live there either. So we can't collect it. We can't move it. We don't want to own it. Pay a lot rent. Ultimately, we're going to be into a slippery slope if we continue to just let these go. So Donna's recommendation, effective immediately, would be to write these two off as uncollectible. They're going to be taxed with the land that they're on. There's not going to be a, I don't know who owns this, or I don't want it. It's on your property and you're responsible for it. So if it's got the value of a shed, she's going to tax it with the value of the shed, or a garage, or a mobile home, and move forward in that manner. In the same way, on a side note, is going to be joining of lots for the purposes of taxation. And that's going to have to come into a legally binding record in the next year in order to do that, because we're seeing too many splits that are happening. And we're not catching them in time for taxation. So so her recommendation on the first one being Michael and Brandy Smith at 3 Raynors Drive would be to write that amount off as collectible, the principal amount of $466.90.
That's the one that she's going to assess as a shed. I think she said.
Yes.
Has some value.
Yes, to the landowner underneath it. Yep.
So we're only writing off the principal amount or the total amount?
Just the principal amount.
Okay,
What's
I
the
make a motion
difference?
that we write off $466.90 for the mobile home at 3 Rainwoods Drive.
I'll second that.
You have motion and second. Any further discussion?
So we're going to write off the principal and then we're going to just not charge the interest and the cost, so that will be flat.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, in both of these cases, if the homestead exemption would have been applied to the account, there would have been a tax bill.
Do we vote on that one or do we put in the second one?
No, that's right, so no further discussion, so all those in favor on that? So everybody.
Then I'll move that we write off $115.03 for 286 Walnut Hill Road.
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Is that a new one? I haven't, the other one I've seen before, but this is,
The name?
yeah.
No, because we had an assessed name for our own. It was assessed to Lavoy, it was assessed to schedule, and it went back to Lavoy, state of Lavoy schedule, and then back to state of.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Other business.
If you could get a motion to add appointments to the agenda.
Motion and second, any further discussion? In favor? Everybody?
I had forwarded you out by email a volunteer application from Mary Ann Anderson, resident Frederick Corner Road, expressing interest in serving on the library board of trustees. That application is also in your packet.
Make a motion that we appoint Mary Ann Anderson to library board of trustees for term to expire town meeting 2022.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Everybody?
If I could also ask for motion to add agendas to the donations to the agenda, please.
So we have a second.
Motion and second, animations, any further discussion? None, all those in favor? It's everybody.
We have one residual donation on the sewer days at $169.97 from High Finning dealerships.
Very random amount.
They had already given, and then we had an opportunity for them to sponsor the cornhole tournament up to the airport. It's something to pick up an activity that will keep people there all day during the different Brookfield. And so that's been 3 weeks. in May.
It seems like we want to.
I was planning
I'll
on
make a
name.
motion to accept the donation of $169.97 from the Hay family dealership.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept, any further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, it's everybody, we're on. Right, yeah, unless you got something else.
Second. Wow.
Motion and second to adjourn, all those in favor?
The
That's everybody.
efficiency is astounding.